up, everybody? Welcome to the Overseas Famous Podcast. I am Kevin Owens, sponsored, of course, by Loop Mogul, the only sports metaverse where you can interact with athletes. We are joined today, Jared Nickens. Jared played at Maryland, plays professionally now in Canada, has had a wonderful career, and also not just on the court success, but off the court as well, as he's a fun teammate. He's also super into fashion, and we're going to get into all that today on the show. So Jared, thank you so much for joining us. Welcome to the Overseas Famous Podcast.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
So let's get into the one, we talked a little bit about this just a few minutes ago, just that one underrated thing with professional basketball, which is having a teammate, especially like an import when you're playing in a different country. Having that import that is a fun person, that makes the team laugh, that makes you laugh. That is an underestimated thing, because trust me, I've gone to places and teammates are just there and they don't say anything, and you're just like, this sucks, and you're trying to be, make it lively. But you have that ability, just, the stuff that you put out and on social media, even during your Maryland days, you have that ability to be that fun teammate. So how does that transition? Like, how do you make that funness transition when you go to another country?
I think a big part of that, especially playing in Canada, is, if I remember correctly, you're allowed to have up to 5 American players.
Mm-hmm.
And then it has to be 5 or 6 Canadian players. So I know, like in Europe and stuff, it's usually like maybe 1 American, 2 Americans, maybe 3 tops. So fortunate enough for me, when I went over there, there was already people kind of with similar backgrounds, similar college experiences. So we were able to just connect right away. And then also being in Canada, they're not too different. Canadians aren't really too different from Americans. So it was kind of easy to blend in, if that makes sense, and just kind of be who I was. And then, like I said, I had other teammates that were kind of just basically coming in with the same energy as me as well. So it was just kind of, it was just like a perfect match, I guess you could say.
I love just playing different places. Like, I know I played in Australia, and I know guys who played in England. They said the same thing. You deal with the accent, but it's very similar to America. Canada, though, that's like, it's not as far of a trip. I mean, going to Australia, it's like a day trip. Going to Canada, it's not that bad. So the Canadian basketball, everything's growing really a whole lot there, and the talent is just picking up. And you are kind of one of those people who's really helping grow Canada basketball, because I've heard so many good things about it, that, the talent level and how it's really picking up. How would you compare that atmosphere to that of like the NBA?
Well, definitely there's no league like the NBA. That's the best it gets. But as far as Canada, it's very competitive, because it's like the Canadian guys have a chip on their shoulder when they're playing against American players. And then you got the American players who don't want to let those guys come in and just walk all over us, you know what I'm saying? So the competitive nature in Canada is definitely up to par. And the talent is growing year by year. It was a small league. It's still fairly small, but as far as recognition goes, a lot of people are starting to hear more and more about it. But it's a good league. It's a league where you go, you get better. A lot of the teams let you be who you are as a player. I know, like, a lot of times growing up, you may play a certain way, and then you get to college, and then you have to play in a system, and your game may change for 4 or 5 years or however long you're there. So then, like, when you get to Canada, you can kind of get back to who you were as a player and find yourself and leverage it to get better jobs elsewhere later on in your career. So
that is a very underrated aspect of playing in a league where a team lets you be you, because I know a lot of places in Europe where it's like, okay, they'll try to change your whole game, make you play a completely different style, and you signed me for a reason, and now you want me to be someone else. Like, it doesn't really make sense. So Canada allowing those, players to be themselves is just incredible. And that's what I've heard all these good things about, the Canadian League and why it's really growing. I think about like the Steve Nash. I know there's other famous Canadian players like Nick Stauskas is Canadian, Steve Nash, Andrew Wiggins, yeah. So it's really who's the other big time Canadian guys? Those are like the three that I know offhand.
Anthony Bennett went number one.
Oh, that's right, Anthony Bennett.
There's Dylan Brooks. I know there's plenty more that I know I'm missing a few. Kelly Olynyk,
Oh yeah.
You said Nick Stauskas.
Yeah.
There's a few. What's the name on the Grizzlies too? He's from Vancouver though. He went to Gonzaga. One that Draymond fouled him. He found him. They gave him the flagrant.
Yeah. Yes. That's it.
There's more, but I can't remember. But I think I'm struggling to remember because there's a lot of Canadians that I played against just from AAU to college. And then obviously the standouts made it to the NBA, but you can't just like single the other guys out that like put in work like from high school and stuff like that. Like Tyler Ennis is another guy because he played in Jersey.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
As I'm saying, he was as best as it gets at the point guard spot. So there's a lot of Canadian players, though. I just can't think of them right now, but there's a lot that have made a great name for themselves, and it's getting better and better.
I think, like, even expansion-wise in the NBA, they always talk about, like, how they can grow it. They were talking about putting teams in, like, China. I'm like, whoa, that's a little crazy. But, like, you have a bunch of other Canadian cities right there that probably could handle. I mean, Vancouver had a team for a while, but like there's other cities where they could definitely handle it. So it'd be great to kind of see an expansion in Canada, considering how talented this league is and how talented the Canadian players are.
I also feel like Toronto in itself. Toronto, I feel like is the one city in Canada that's is different in many ways, just because it's in a different country, but it's not really too far off from like a New York or a Washington, D.C. or something like that. As far as just like basketball and talent, like I know hockey is like the main thing in Canada, but coming up, like the Raptors have helped with basketball culture and things like that. So I just feel like now it's at a point where the talent is, if not better, just as good than some of these places in America. It's going to be very competitive. Players should walk around and think they're the best wherever they're from. You know what I'm saying? But when I'm just looking now from the outside looking in, it's like I said, Toronto's really no different than growing up in Jersey or growing up in New York playing basketball. You're going to play your whole life. Like CIA Bounce was one of the best teams in the UIBL for a little while. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, but the talent, what it is though, I think a lot of the talented players from Canada end up coming to America. So, they don't really stay out there. So it's like, at that point, they're going to American colleges, they're going to the NBA, they're playing in Europe or wherever the case may be. Because Canada, as far as like taking care of you financially, it's not going to compete with an NBA or a G League or a Euro League or things like that, Australia, you know what I'm saying? So it's really just to get better and just to move on. So like in that process, you come across those guys that are talented that you may have never heard of before, because they're hungry and starving and trying to get a better job. So like the overall aspect of Canada, period, in basketball, I think it's very, like they fly under the radar. But I think like it's one of those things like if like you know, kind of like if you play and around them, that they hold their own for sure. So
I always think about, you're a Jersey guy. When I went up to Vermont and then I went to Canada for a little bit, I was there in the summer, but then I had a friend who's up there during the winter, and he's like, "Yeah, it's a different ball game." And I feel like I'm used to my Jersey weather now. It's like, the winter. Sometimes it gets cold, sometimes it gets real hot. But that climate where you're up there and it's the dead of the winter, it's kind of like, does that ever get old?
Well, being on the East Coast my whole life, I want to say I was used to it. It was a little colder. And I'm used to that. Growing up in Jersey, it's been cold. I've had the snowstorms and can't go to school because you can't get outside because the snow is covering the door. You know what I'm saying? Winters are so whatever. And I'm a winter baby too, so I'm used to it. So my first year out there, I played in St. John's, Newfoundland. That it was pretty cold out there because I was as far east on the continent as you can go. Like I was the most eastern point. So I was like 2 miles from where the Titanic happened. I was kind of closer to Europe in a sense than I was to America. But like out there, it was really cold. Not gonna lie, and it snowed like once a week. It snowed. It was crazy. But when it got towards the end of the season, like May, we came home around May, early June.
Mm-hmm.
It was kind of nice out there. It wasn't as nice as it was out here.
Yeah.
Just because I'm not by an ocean, you know what I'm saying? So a lot colder. But Canada, period, it definitely gets cold. It gets cold a lot. But then my second year, I played in Kitchener-Waterloo, which is like an hour outside of Toronto. That was more like America, you know what I'm saying? Like it was just there was 3 college campuses right where I stayed at. Like it just felt kind of like I was just like in Michigan or something like that.
Are you like a prank guy at all? Like, do you like to mess with your teammates? Are you a guy that would like, throw some shit out there and just be like, all right, let's see how this goes?
I wouldn't say I do pranks because I know I wouldn't like to get pranked, but I joke a lot. I like to laugh at. If something's funny, I'm gonna laugh. I'm not gonna hold back.
Have you ever had an encounter with someone who just like, because I feel like I had a similar personality to you. Like if something's funny, I'm laughing at it, even if it's like, you're in a practice or something, you're like, what the fuck are you doing, dude? And you start laughing and that guy gets all, someone might get offended. Have you ever been in a situation where you're like, all right, it's joke.
Yeah, but no, because I feel like people who know me understand my humor. So it's like if they know I'm laughing at something, they're looking at it just like, yo, this guy is goofy. Like he plays too much. Like they'll probably like before they get mad at me, they'll probably just say, yo, you play too much. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't think it would escalate to where I have to defend myself and say, yo, it's just a joke.
Yeah.
So nah, I mean maybe once or twice, just because some people may be, you know what I'm saying, in the locker room, there's a bunch of different emotions. So you might catch someone on the wrong. But like I said, most of my teammates know, like they know me for who I am. So it's never ever really escalated to anything like that. If anything, it's just been a heavy joke session where like verbally it might get a little, you know what I'm saying, a little out of hand. Nothing too crazy.
There's a guy I play with in the D League, I guess the G League now, and he's a Puerto Rican guy. He was 7'2", and like his name is Peter Ramos, and he was like 7'2", like the big head, the huge hands, like he had like the almost like looked like kind of giant, like the gigantism, but he just had like huge features, and like he was like real. He like played it real cool. So but like, he has these giant hands and stuff. So we would fuck with him every once in a while, and he would get so mad because like he didn't want to be joked with. But you're like, Peter, like you're fucking with us, and then we start doing it. So I remember he got heated at my boy Seth, and like they were about to come to blows just because he was just like, shut up, Peter, like something so simple. I'm like, dude. So some guys definitely get a little heated in that situation, but Peter, he was good. He was very talented, but he didn't not want to be played. Plus, got signed by the Wizards, so he was probably fucking pissed that he was down the D League because he got sent down to develop, and he was probably like, fuck all you. I hate you. No one talks to me. And so we were just like fuck with him even more because of that.
Yeah, I think too. A lot of times, if there is some altercations, well, in my experience, at least, I can't speak for everyone. I feel like foreign players sometimes you might butt heads with them before you butt heads with, like, you know what I'm saying, one of the American players or someone.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times now, I know nowadays at least, we've known each other for so long, like before college stuff. I mean, granted, there's a few of them that I met when I got to college, but you've always, even if we've never met before, you've heard of them or you've seen them at the same tournament or something like that. So there's some sort of familiar, like you're familiar with the person in some sort. You know what I'm saying? So with the foreign players, it's all new to them. Whole new culture, whole new environment, language. You know what I'm saying? So like when I went to St. Pat's, we had a teammate. His name was Joel. I forgot what country he was from. I don't want to say the wrong country, so I'm not even going to bother trying. Not exactly what country he was from, but when we used to mess with him a little bit, he used to get mad a lot faster and like try to put us in place and like tell us to stop and stuff like that. And then even in college, I had a couple foreign teammates. You could just always tell they're always like a little more on edge compared to the other guys. I mean, respectfully so, like, because if it was the other way around, I feel like if I was in a whole different country for 4 years, everything was new, it's like a new culture shock, I'd probably walk around on edge too and wouldn't, because at the same time, who's to say they don't understand our jokes and they might think we saying something bad about them or something like that, you know what I'm saying? I mean, it never, ever came, like I said, but that's just from my experience. I've always noticed the foreign guys are literally a little more on edge, in the American setting at least, until they settle in and stuff like that. Obviously, then everything becomes cool. But like those early stages when you're trying to figure each other out, it could be a little tug and pull, but it always ends up well. So.
I do. That's probably the first time I've ever thought about that. That you're sitting. You imagine being an American sitting in a locker room with like a bunch of European guys, and they're all talking about you in their language, and like pointing and laughing, and you're just like, like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, that would piss me off too, if you're just, because you're not familiar with the language, even though they're joking, they don't really understand. I mean, I can put myself in those situations. So I'm sorry, PJ Ramos, for ever fucking with you in the locker room. So you're big in the fashion scene. That is, first off, I love that because I think fashion is, and basketball especially, are so, they're right there. Because you're going through and being an overseas athlete, but you're still so relevant in the fashion game, and you have a lot of stylish things that you're doing. How do you kind of keep that going within the fashion community? How do you is it just like keeping up with what to wear, or are you trying to set trends?
I don't try to set any trends. Like, I just try to be myself. I think a large part of it is music too.
Mm-hmm.
So like you said, fashion and basketball goes together. I think music is right in that same bubble. Just being on YouTube, watching music videos, and then it's like my friends are into it too. So, and it's crazy because I didn't really get into fashion until the pandemic. Like, I've always liked to look presentable, but when I didn't really start wanting to look like different or stand outish or like fly, I guess, if you will, until like the pandemic happened. And I think it was just me just being home, just being on Instagram, and just I started coming across a lot of different like vlogs, and just I really couldn't even tell you how it started. I just remember it was around that time. And then I just started trying to piece stuff together. And then, like I said, my best friend is Devin Robinson. He went to Florida Wizards for a little bit. He just got back from Taiwan a few months ago. He's heavy into fashion too. You know what I'm saying? So it's like I lean on him a lot when it comes to that. I mean, all my friends are into fashion for the most part, but what I like about it is we all have different tastes.
Yeah.
So it's like we'll throw around a bunch of like, maybe if we see a garment, I'll send it to one friend and see what he thinks about it. They'll do the same to me. But depending on the garment, I'll send it to a certain friend because I know what each person kind of likes. Like, I have friends that are into the design, and then I got friends that are more into thrift shopping, vintage stuff like that. And then like now, like with Instagram, is just like with the League Fits page, just like you just see clothes kind of everywhere now, And then like I said, with music videos are like a prevalent thing again. You know what I'm saying? Especially with TikTok and all that other stuff with the reels and stuff. So it's just like fashion is just everywhere at this point. Like even to the tunnel pics, to NBA players doing their own vlogs and stuff like that, getting their own shoes. Like not from what they're doing on the court, but just having different brand deals because they know how to dress and stuff like that. Like that's interests me, and it's just I feel like it's a cool way of expressing yourself. And I feel like there's still like I feel like I have a long way to go when it comes to fashion. I give props to my friends. I still got friends that I think are way flyer than me, you know. And it's like I look up to them in that sense of like I need to step it up a little bit, you know. But I mean, I understand too. It takes time. You can't just try to go rush out there and just throw on anything, you know. And that's also I don't know if I don't really post too much. Like, I'll post maybe like every 2-3 months. I'm way more active on my story than I am on my feed. And that's because, like I said, it's like a product because, you know, like you got to pay, clothes are expensive. You got to pay for clothes, get the right and all that. And then it's like, I don't like certain things. So it's like, I may shop once a year, you know what I'm saying? Twice a year. And so it's like, and then I'm not going out all the time, you know? So it's like, I mean, I'm real selective with what I wear and when I wear it. But over time, I want to get to a point where any given day I could throw on anything and make it look good, you know. But until I get there, I'm gonna just do how I'm doing it right now. And then, like I said, I got friends that are heavy into that too. So it's like we all, like when we talk, we'll talk basketball a little bit, but because like we've been in basketball for our whole lives, a lot of our conversations are about other things like tattoos, music, clothes, what we want to do outside of basketball, things of that nature. So it's like, and then like I said, fashion is definitely probably the most we talk, like the most talked about topic between me and my friends. So
I love the pandemic. Definitely, I think was huge in the fashion world because it gave people a lot of time to kind of sit back and like see what other. I totally agree with you. You're in a, especially being a professional athlete, like you're constantly going. So having that time to just sit back and like, oh shit, this is what's out there.
like if you look at how I dressed in college compared to now, it's like night and day, in my opinion. And two of my friends say too. And then that's another thing too. I've had friends that have been into fashion since we were like freshmen in college. Like my friend Dion Wiley, he went to Maryland with me. He's been up on sneakers since I met him. He's had every sneaker that dropped. He gets it before it drops. You could get it after it drops. And he'll always get it for the retail price too. Like he was just always plugged in with that. So it's like I've always paid attention to that. I've seen that like from a few months ago, I was doing some sneaker shopping and I asked him like, what's hot right now? What should I get? You know what I'm saying? I'll do stuff like that. Because I'm still learning too. And it's like I just pay attention to certain people on Instagram and how they throw stuff together. Even to how they take their pictures and stuff like that. Like it's just interests me. You know, I just like fashion. I eventually want to start my own brand and wear my own stuff. But until then, I'm gonna just keep rocking the stuff I like. Like Hellstar is one of my favorite brands right now. No Noise. That's my brother D-Rob brand, the No Noise brand. I rock with that heavy. What else? Santana Labs, David Miner. I don't know. There's like, here's another thing too that just reminded me: the pandemic and how I got into it. I think that gave a lot of room for the homemade designers, like the up and coming brands to shine. Because now the stores are closed. You couldn't just always go in the store and buy things. Now you had to look online and shop through Instagram or online, however you were shopping. Because I think Instagram added a feature where you could shop from Instagram now. So a lot of people. Yes. So I feel like that was a good time just for designers, period. Because now it was like everybody is on Instagram 24/7. Why not start just doing clothes and putting everything out there? And I feel like a lot of people took off around that time just because it was just in front of your face. You know what I'm saying?
I think the entrepreneurial explosion happened because of the pandemic, because guys were sitting there, people were sitting there working from home, and they're like, I could probably do something else too. And it's like, it was a time for people to chase their dreams. And I think that's incredible that fashion has kind of gotten that influx in there. And trust me, if you ever Google me, you have to get through all the, Kevin Owens wrestler pictures, but there's some weird pictures of how I dressed in college and high school, and even 4 years ago. So yeah, I definitely can relate to you, because I think my fashion is an up and coming thing. I'm also 6'10". I have a friend Zahir. He's a big Hollywood writer, and the way he dresses, he like dresses completely Hollywood, like rocking like everything's Gucci, but like the full on like outfit that I would be like I couldn't wear that. Like I would just look ridiculous if I wore that. But he can pull it off because he's just he has that style. Like I don't have that yet, where I can, like you were saying, like where I can wear whatever I want. Like I can't just go out of the house dressed however I want. People would be like, what the fuck is wrong with you? But I think having that fashion where I'm kind of figuring out my style. I'm also 42 years old, so I can't really rock like too much. I have to like kind of I'm starting to push it back towards I can't be wearing things that 20-year-olds wear, because that's embarrassing for me.
You can pull it off.
Yeah,
that's another thing. You gotta try. Like I just started trying stuff. You know what I'm saying? It was like I would wear certain stuff to certain events just to see what people's reaction would be. You know what I'm saying? Like if one of my friends had like a pop-up shop, I would wear a certain type of pants just to see what like my initial, like my peers that I've been around most of my life thought first, and then before I would wear something there before I would wear it like to a night out or like in a club or something like that.
Yeah.
Early on in the pandemic, I was just trying to test a lot of stuff just to see what my people thought about it. And then here's the thing too, it's like I respect what my friends wear and they make it look good, but it's like I couldn't wear it, but then they couldn't wear what I wear either. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
so like there's really only one friend of mine that really kind of has like similar taste and style. And he doesn't hoop or nothing like that, but he's into basketball heavy. He's one of my friends. I call him, his nickname is Yop. I'll give him a quick shout out. But aside from that, like I said, all my friends got different styles, but they're all like respectable in their own way, if that makes sense.
I like that. I think everyone needs to have, if everyone dressed the same, you all went out, like everyone's dressed exactly the same. I like having that individuality, like that style. Like it's like anything else. Like you watch a show like Entourage, everyone goes out, everyone has their style. And I like that. That's like, having your own style individually. I'm going to show how like either how much or little I know about fashion with this question. Do you have a Pinterest account?
I do, but not for fashion.
Oh, fuck.
I look at tattoos from time to time, but like I said, for fashion, I just go straight on Instagram or YouTube, blog, something like, because all these athletes nowadays or rappers, they record everything, so you can kind of just get an inside look on another person's thought process behind things, and it's not to like bite anybody's style or anything like that. It's just more so I like seeing what goes into how they choose what they choose. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's what interests me. Because sometimes when I'm looking in my closet, I'm trying to figure out like what should I wear or how should I wear this. And then it's like I really just have to sit down and look in front of my closet. Like, all right, like it might take me like 30 minutes sometimes, I'm not gonna lie. And that's what I'm trying to say too. I want to get to a point where there's so much stuff in my closet that it doesn't even have to take me that long anymore. I could just pick a piece out, throw some shoes on, and head out the door. You know what I'm saying? But I don't know, fashion, like it's just, I don't know, it's just interesting. But to answer your question about the Pinterest, I have a Pinterest, but for tattoos though.
I have my Pinterest, and I'm like on it, and it's like it's tattoos, it's like fashion, and it's like weird like whiskeys or something like that, or something odd like that. But it's definitely tattoos are big, and I feel like it's like inspiration as well. Like I've gone on Pinterest and been like, how am I going to get this to look? How am I going to get this to look? What would I look like if I had this? And I think it's a huge thing, because I love tattoos, and if I just sat there and told the guy, I don't know, there's like a trust thing. Like if I understand they're artists, but if I just went in and be like, here's what I want, just do it. Shit's permanent. Like I need to kind of go in with a game plan and map it out. So Pinterest definitely helps that.
It's another thing too. I feel like tattoos are like part of fashion too. I mean, like yes and no. because you got guys like Shy from OKC.
Mhm.
I always mess up his last name, so I just call him Shy. But he doesn't have tattoos, but he's one of the flyest dudes in the league. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But then, almost 9 times out of 10, when I'm looking at someone who's very fashionable, they have tattoos. So you got like Jordan Clarkson, Oubre, Kuzma. I can't think of a rapper who doesn't have tattoos, so you could damn near name all of them. You know what I'm saying? And even the guys who started these brands, like I think his name is Luigi, the dude who started Rude. He
Okay.
has like subtle tattoos around him, you know what I'm saying, on his neck and stuff like that. So it's just, I have to feel like tattoos almost go hand in hand with fashion too. There's plenty of dudes out there who don't have tattoos who still are very fly. You know what I'm saying? But
Yeah.
for the most part, as what I'm seeing, a lot of dudes have tattoos. And then you got to think too, most of my friends, we all have tattoos. My boy D-Rob with the No Noise brand, he has plenty tattoos. My friend Yop, he got tattoos. The list could go on and on about me and my friends with tattoos. So I definitely, like if someone were to argue that you have to have tattoos to be fly, I wouldn't be mad. But like I said, there's plenty of people without them that still do what they do. But also, too, I think that it might just be a Hooper thing as well. Like I feel like if someone were to just coming up strictly in fashion, like and didn't play basketball and they didn't have tattoos, it would be almost look like normal for them. You know what I'm saying? And that's like a knock on it in any way, shape, or form. But
yeah,
I feel like in the basketball culture, it's like, all right, everybody damn near has tattoos. And I know for me, Allen Iverson was my favorite player, so I always knew I was going to end up. You know what I'm saying? But that's just my take.
Like I was the same way. I loved AI. I was like, I'm right outside of Philadelphia, so like grew up with AI. Love the tattoos. Like that was just, I love Dennis Rodman. Even though he played for the Bulls, like I just liked how he played, and I liked his he just had that style. He had that I don't give a fuck. Like I'm gonna rock tattoos before anyone else. I'm gonna dye my hair. I'm gonna do whatever I want, and I liked that player because that's what I was. I didn't want to follow the rules of hey, you just have to do this and be this. I'm like, no, I'm not a robot. I'm gonna be me, and I think that's so important. Like you're saying with style and individuality of an athlete, you have to have that, and I think that's important because it defines you as not only an athlete but a human being. Like you're not just a robot who goes out there. You are an individual, and that's a huge thing, especially as basketball is becoming this global brand. So I love that. Last question, real quick: the Loop Mogul. You are now an ambassador, an influencer on Loop Mogul. How cool is that? Are you excited to be part of this, huge global metaverse?
Definitely, because I remember when it was when the metaverse and Web3 and all that and NFTs was first coming about. A good friend of mine from when I went to St. Pat's, it was kind of like an OG in my eyes. He's a little older than me. He was like our coach's son. He was just always around. You know what I'm saying? But he's heavy into the metaverse, Web3, all that. So when it was first coming out and I was hanging around him and stuff, he would always talk about it. But back then I was still kind of naive to it. And even now there's still so much for me to learn. But overall, I'm definitely excited just because I've heard so much about it leading up to now. And then LG, one of my good friends from Maryland, he came to me with the opportunity. Me and him chopped it up first for about an hour about it, and it just sounded like it was a solid move for me to make and get on board with him and Mogul. And then, like I said, there's still so much for me to learn, which I think is the exciting part. There's a lot of perks that could come with it down the line, but I feel like actually learning about it and potentially treating it as another skill set to better myself, whether that be just having knowledge or just financially, whatever the case may be. I feel like that's the most exciting part about it because it's still so early. So it's the future is bright, but it's not clear, if that makes sense. The end goal is definitely it's bright and it's motivating, but because it's so early, it's still kind of hard to navigate everything that could go wrong or Like you never like it's just so early. You never really know what could happen. You know what I'm saying? But
Yep.
from what I've heard, I think things are going in the right direction, and I'm just happy to be on board as early as I am.
Well, Jared, this has been awesome. You're a cool as shit, dude. This is fun. I'm so happy you're part of Loop Mogul. I'm so happy you're continuing your career. And this has been great. We're going to be rooting for you, and we wish you the best of luck. And we'll be talking to you.
Sounds good. Thanks for having me, man. I appreciate it.
Of course, Jared. Thank you. This has been the Overseas Famous Podcast. We'll see you guys next week.